our world needs a return to life and a return to the blessings that is this earth. We don't have that today, and that's because the universities took control and they made everything into a game. That is the way of men, as it has been throughout all of history. They make life into a game, and the only game they really play is war. It's war to take what you have for themselves. Somebody else wants what you have, and they play predator and prey, and that's just how it is, unfortunately. And of course, the universities made it their decision to create a maze so that we cannot interfere with them, because they want to be a cult. Only the leader decides. Only the expert knows anything. Only they can choose, which is, of course, communism in itself. Because when only the few can choose, as is how it is, then it is communist, not democracy anymore. Anyway, this is a world that requires change. If we don't change it, we end up with hell, because that's what we chose. So this is about changing the world. And to start that process, we need hope. And hope means that we have to have love. We have to have love, because it is the one of three choices that determine everything about ourselves. If you have love, you act and seek love. If you have hate, then you act and seek hate with violence and fear and things. And if you're just an animal and just want what you want, and that's all that there is, and you just want what you want, and that's all that there is. So, and one of those three choices is what you are, what you will be, what you choose. And of course, truth is the deciding factor. What is true about you? What is true about the things that you believe? What is true about your fear, or what you and who do you obey? And of course, the courts all say, you can't question the university. The university is God. They are the only experts. You can't question them. Doesn't matter what they do. You can't question them. They are God, which is, of course, what the cult does. Cult is just a meaning of the word only the leader can decide, which is, of course, communism. So we're looking at all the various things that are a part of our life and a part of our living. And we recognize that the university controls the university diploma, the university taught, the university indoctrinated children for the last 50 or 100 years, the university evolution, the university everything, the university media, the university business model, the university control of currency, the university banking, the university everything is, of course, how we got here, including the university concepts of what is and is not a weapon of mass destruction, and the university intent to control all biological weapons, as is every university now has, every poison and every biological hazard and every biological curse that is ever born on this planet that they could find. And not everyone, of course, but most of it, and they all get their money from government. And of course, the government is what they use to counterfeit, because we have, let's just say, $700 trillion worth of currency in float. That means that 100 million of us have the equivalent of $7 million each, if we divided it equally. And 100 million of us have about, 100 and some odd $1 trillion in debt. That means that every single one of 100 million people owe $1 million each. And that's, of course, before taxes. So there is no issue about whether or not we can or cannot continue as we are. We live on lies, and lies always end. Lies always end. Only truth survives. So what to do? And the answer to that, of course, is redress of grievances in this America, because that is our democratic civil war. It's not a game. It's go to court and let the actual law decide what is the evidence. And I don't mean the law that people make. I mean the law of what is or is not true. And what is or is not true is whether we have a democracy left or not, whether or not we can survive what we are doing, whether or not we can depend upon the curse of people who make decisions for us, and all the things that are about what is our future going to be. And our future is not going to be bright or good or anything, because we add at least 100 million people to the population every year. We can't feed them. There's not going to be any water. They take over everything, and that means every form of life on earth will die, and then all we have left is cannibalism for ourselves. That's the truth of it. That's the reality of it. And so we need to have redress to understand exactly what is true, to identify what is the cost of being wrong, and to be certain about what we want our future to be as best we can. We cannot, turn the clock back like so many people want to do. It would be great, but turning turn the clock back 50 years means 4 billion plus of us have to die. You can't do that. Or can you kill 1 billion people and not have consequences for that? Then there's still 7.2 billion people left. It won't work. War has ended. It has no value anymore. It just takes from life and from society and from the future what we need. And we must stop it. And that means world law. Or we're going to control the leaders with our law. They don't get to control us anymore. We get to control our leaders with our law and international policing to bring them into court. Or if we must, simply to kill them. That's just how it is. So we do have to control the currency, and that means that we have to make the currency tied to the population count. So many dollars for so many people, so many citizens, and that's all there is. There is no more. And to make sure there is no more, we have to take away the ability for Congress or whoever it is that calls themselves government to make decisions for us and to create debts for us and to create loans for us and to sell our property and all of that. We have to stop that. We have to do it. It's not a choice. And we have to stop ourselves. A small economy car going down the road for an hour at highway speed uses the amount of air that about 30 people need for a day. Think about that. The oxygen 30 people need for a day is consumed by an automobile, just an econo car, in an hour's worth of driving. So take a look around you and see all the cars and all the vehicles that are doing that. It takes about 4 gallons of gasoline, the equivalent of, to raise the temperature 1 degree in a 1,000 square foot apartment. And that's not a big apartment. 4 gallons. So in other words, it takes about 120 the air that 120 people need for a day to raise your temperature 1 degree in your 1,000 foot apartment. Or it takes about 125, the diesel truck going down the road carrying your stuff needs about 125 people per hour. All the air, and air or oxygen, more correctly, is what we have to breathe, to live. It proves that there aren't, your NASA and what have you ain't going nowhere because they can't take oxygen with them. And the oxygen is an element. That means it's an atom of a very specific kind. But nonetheless, it's an atom, and we cannot create an atom. They created for us. We can't do it. So anyway, we have to understand what the future is, and the future is dead for all the children. And of course, the universities knew that from the beginning. way back when, and they all said, let the children pay, because they wanted what they wanted, and that's all that they wanted, and they didn't want to pay. So they said, let the children pay. The children want what they want. The children don't want to be poor. The children want what we want too. So let the children pay. And of course, that's exactly what they did. And the universities came out back in the 60s and said, don't worry, throw it all away, because we'll just make more. Plenty, plenty, plenty. But today, there is no real more. We have resources for the future, but if you continue to throw them away, you assassinate your children. There is just the facts of life. And there is no love in that. There is no love in destroying the world. There is no love in destroying the planet. There is no anything to that. And then of course we have all the people who are mutilating nature. And they say, wow, we have more seed, and we have bigger crops than we have ever had before. But of course they're dumping trillions of tons of poison to get it. They're using fertilizers that are going to run out. And actually the genetic change in seeds is about removing the immunities of the seed and opening the door, removing the ability for it to regerminate, and opening the door to intense pandemic disease in plants, which will, of course, eliminate our food supply entirely. And of course, corn is one of the major things in that, and corn is a grass. So if you have a pandemic that goes to grass, just about everything that humans and animals and things eat is going to die. That's the price of being wrong. So we don't want to do that, and we do that. That's exactly what we do. We dump trillions of tons into the poison, into the water supplies. That's exactly what we do. There's consequences to every water supply and everything on earth. Everything on earth. So we have to make choices. We cannot make those choices without understanding what the evidence is. We cannot understand what the evidence is and draw people into court and make sure that the evidence we understand to be true is in fact true as best we can. And we have to have redress to do that. So we want to go to the courtroom and we want to create redress by demanding First Amendment rights as the law demands. Refuse taxation until they obey the law. They are not God, they are not king, they are not anybody but other than a former classmate of ours that has a job which we can refuse them. We pay them, or actually they pay themselves with counterfeit wages. And just think about that. The actual society in America spends about, or earns about $5 trillion or so. That's the business end of it, so that's what you actually earn. And all of the rest is what your university graduates gave to themselves when they counterfeited and created debts for us to pay. Everything that they do is a debt that we have to pay. $38 trillion or whatever it is currently that Congress is, puts up as the American debt. That's just what Congress overspent over taxes that they could collect. It is a tax, a hidden tax on us, that they created for us without our consent by hiding it. It is not accurate to have that. It's not legal for them to do that. And we have to stop it. Everything that they do, we have to stop. And in fact, if you take away 95% of everything the universities have ever done, that would be, where our problems are. We need to take the last 1 or 2% of what they did do for us that has some little bit of value and separate that from all the things that they did wrong. If you don't think they did anything wrong, just take a look around. Or more correctly, have redress and let's identify what is or is not true. If you think the university is God, go ahead and prove it. After all, isn't that what a courtroom is for? Prove what is true? Isn't that what it's supposed to be? It's not what it is, but isn't that what it's supposed to be? Are not the laws supposed to defend you? Are not the laws supposed to defend your children, your future, your earth, your nature? Genetics are nature. There's nothing else about it. Genetics are nature. So when you change anything about genetics, you change nature. And there are very, very serious consequences to that. And of course, Armageddon means nature in chaos. And the apocalypse, in the biblical terms, is a war for water. Ran out of water, you only got 3 days to take what somebody else has, because they're not going to give it to you. Are they? They're not. Because then they die too. Everything you do, everything